Article 14, Section 6, 7, and 9 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution is the legal basis for the various language policies that are implemented in the country. It resolved the issue of the national language in the 1935 and 1973 Philippine Constitution, as they are not clear about this. The 1987 Philippine Constitution gives due consideration to shaping the establishment of the national language. It also replaced Filipino with Filipino as the official language of the country. The effectiveness of the law since 1987 has led to the continuous development of language policy in the country. Various laws, executive orders, and department orders were enacted under the 1987 Constitution. It served as the foundation for furthering the existing language policy in the country. In addition, Section 9 of the Constitution orders the establishment of a National Language Commission. The task of this commission is to undertake, promote, and coordinate research for the development, propagation, and preservation of Filipino and other languages. The commission came to be known as the Komisyon sa Wikang Filipino, Commission on the Filipino Language, which was established on August 14, 1991. Most schools are noticeably adhering to this language policy. It is outlined in Section 6 of the Article 14 of the Constitution that the government shall take steps to initiate and sustain the use of Filipino as a language of instruction in the educational system, which is closely reflected in our schools. During the learners' primary years, the language of instruction the teachers are using to teach their learners is Filipino. In the later years, as mandated by the Constitution, regional languages such as Pangasinan, Ilocano, Cebuano, and Kapampangan were still used to enable the learners and teachers to exchange information through a comfortable use of the regional language in their communication. Some learners still find themselves using this language on some occasions during the class. On the other hand, Spanish and Arabic are not discernibly used during the learning process inside the classroom these days, for there are very few to none that this is knowledgeable, intelligible, and fluent speakers of these languages. The 1987 Constitution has outlined the use of Filipino and English as a medium of communication and instruction, while the regional languages as auxiliary or supplementary languages. Some of the issues we can see in the enactment of this policy are the limitation of the full integration of Filipino and English languages in rural areas with native speakers of regional languages. Filipino has the most numbers of speakers among the 175 languages present in the Philippines. It has more than 21 million speakers. Therefore, the language should be the perfect vehicle to keep a conversation alive among multilingual speakers from the country. But in some cases in the rural areas, they cannot understand either Filipino or English. The only language they speak is the regional dialect, which is also their mother tongue and their first language. In the context of rural schools, the medium of instruction and language used in textbooks are Filipino and English. If this is the case, then the learners who only understand a regional dialect will not be able to cope with the lesson, which is mostly written in the language they are not familiar with. It might be extra challenging for teachers to teach the basics and start from zero to help the students understand the contents of the textbooks and the lesson in general. This issue was solved by further acts or bills that have been promulgated, like the MTV-MOE, where students are taught using their first language or the regional language they spoke in their community. Filipinos are multilingual in general. As a result, it is hard to develop a policy that will be inclusive for all the different language speakers of the country. It will be extra challenging to teach using this language in rural areas, but since it is mandated by the law, it should be followed. Upon realizing the meaning and the effects of the policy, we disagree with some parts of it. There were lapses and some questionable components about it, especially when it prescribed the only use of Filipino in English as a medium of communication and instruction in schools. The Philippines is a multilingual country. The law itself should promote freedom with the use of any language one desires to use in communicating where they find themselves comfortable. Regional languages might die if it continuously loses speakers. In the case when regional languages were biased and abandoned, the MTB-MOE policy was a good solution. It paved the way for creating instructional materials which are geared for the mother tongue speakers of the regional languages. Although MTB-MOE policy has its lapses itself, it has filled the gaps in issues that we mentioned. As outlined in the 1987 Constitution, this law is subject to provisions and as Congress may deem appropriate. Additionally, Article 14, Section 6, 7, and 9 were ratified and amended multiple times. Regardless of the countless times it has been ratified, it still needs improvement to cover and fix the loopholes there are to this language policy.